Good afternoon. Can you guys hear me okay? Just give me a hello or a yes, we can hear you in the comment section so I know you guys can hear me okay. Hello, hello. Welcome to the live. This is a new setup, so it's a little bit different, or a little bit of a different dashboard. I've never done the, what do they call this, where you like preset the live and then you can actually sit and watch it count down. It was kind of cool, I have to say. But welcome to the live tonight. This is not going to be a very long and drawn out live. As you guys know, I can talk and I can be very long-winded. So I want to be pretty to the point because I know it's also kind of late, and I want this to also be something that people can look back on, after this is live, and watch and get some pearls and some really quick tips that will be helpful to your career. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the video. I get this question a lot. I actually got this question again today, and it was like, I felt like God was saying, you need to just talk about this. Let's just get it out the way and have the conversation, because I think it could be really, really helpful for some people out there. So with that being said, the purpose of today's conversation, I feel like I'm doing a meeting. I'm starting a meeting off. But no, the purpose of today's conversation is to give you guys some tools that will help you find a job when you get out of school. That can be getting out of an MBA program. That can be coming out of undergrad. And I think before we get started, I should probably qualify why I think that I am able to talk about this conversation, why I'm someone that you should listen to, because I think that is important, and it kind of helps you with just some context around how to place the perspective in the advice that I'm giving you. So just so you guys know, my background, years ago, I used to work in pharmaceutical sales. So that was kind of like my first formal corporate job. Prior to that, I was in radio sales. So I did radio sales for a little bit under a year. I was in pharmaceutical sales for about 5 years, first working at Pfizer Pharmaceuticals. And then after that, I worked for a company called Shearing Plow Pharmaceuticals. I left Shearing Plow after, I think it might have been like 2 years, and I decided to go back to school to get my MBA. I got my MBA in marketing, and I also have a sub-concentration in strategy. You would think I would have applied it more and better on this channel, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, my MBA is in marketing, my sub-concentration is in strategy, and I went to Michigan State University for my degree. When I got done getting my degree, you know what, let me back up just a pinch. In between my first and second year, I did an internship at a company called Amgen. Amgen is a biotech company. I think they might be considered the #1 biotech company in the world, and that was a really amazing experience. It was in Thousand Oaks, California, which is why I have a very serious love for California. After that, I did finish school, and I ended up going to work in medical devices. So my current experience is in the healthcare field, which honestly the majority of my career has been in healthcare. And I've been doing what I do now for about 8 years. I'm a project manager, but I've worked in marketing, supply chain, logistics, quality. I've done the sales thing, and now I'm doing project management. And the job that I have now is a cross-functional job across the whole organization. So with that being said, that's my background. I have a lot of experience. In addition to that, doing YouTube, which is for me, it's my hobby. It's where I kind of let my hair down a little bit, and I tend to be a little more casual on the channel. However, there's a lot of things I think can be helpful just in terms of my background that can be beneficial to you guys. And when I first started my channel, I really wanted to do videos like this because I wanted to help people who were like me, trying to figure out, how can I break the 100K, income mark? How can I be bonusing $15,000, $20,000 a year consistently? How can I be someone who in corporate America I'm respected and people look at me and they actually listen to what it is that I say? And I feel like there's a lot of things that I've done along the way to get to where I'm at, to be able to give advice to someone who is like me, who has those questions, just picking at them, because those were things that I feel like I was always trying to get after. I was always trying to find people who had the answers. And it's just not always as easy to find people who are willing to give you this information. So with that being said, that's all the background, and that's why I think I'm qualified to be able to have this conversation with you, and why I think you should listen to what I am telling you, even though some of what I'm going to say you probably have heard before in different ways. But I think if you really, really just stop and soak it up, I was going to say suck it up, soak it up, it can be helpful for you. So with that, let's go ahead and let's get into the tips. Before we do, I just really quickly want to look over here because I've been trying to focus and make sure you guys know I'm looking at you, but I do also want to pay attention to the comment section. So, okay, good. You guys can hear me. Hello, hello. I see the stars. Thanks for dropping the stars in the comment section. You guys know, those of you who are on my vlog channel, I always ask to put the stars in the comment section. So before we get into the pearls, please put your stars down below and say hello. Let me know that you guys are here. You can put a star there. You can say hi, whatever it is, but let me know where you're from, as well as the fact that you're here. And also, since we're giving out free pearls today, because I never, ever ask for anything in exchange for this information, will you do one favor for me and hit the thumbs up button? That would help me out a ton. But let's go ahead and get into it, because you guys, I worked out tonight on the bike and I need a shower. So I do kind of want to be, to the point for that reason too. But hello, hello. Okay, so y'all got your notebooks and paper ready. So the first thing that I think is really going to set you up for success is I just think you need to assess where you are in the current moment. And that's important because everything else I'm going to tell you is how, you're going to need to leverage what you know now about yourself to be able to really be successful with the other pearls I'm going to give you, okay? And I think this is important because sometimes, for example, the question I got today, let me actually just pull up the question. And it was kind of difficult for me to answer it at first. I had to ask a lot of questions to kind of get after, how to help this individual person. But the question I got today, which again, I was like, this is so perfect to have this dialogue, but it was, how do I get into business? That's a very general question, right? How do I get into business? So then after I probed some more, I basically found out that this person wants to get into a role that's similar to what I do in my current job. So I told them the first thing you really have to do is just understand where you currently are. Where, are you someone who, for me, we'll just use me as an example, and then you'll have to kind of take me as an example and take that and try to put it to what you do and assess your situation for whatever industry you are in. So for me, when I first went back to school, I decided I wanted to go into CPG. I wanted to be working in a consumer products job. I actually had my hopes set on Coca-Cola. I'm I'm going to go back to school, I'm going to get my MBA, and I'm going to go get a job at Coca-Cola, right? So I had my heart set. I probably could have done it, but it was going to be a lot of work, right? So after I got into the program, and when you start your MBA program, you usually get to go to these career fairs, which happen right when you first get there. So I go to the career fair and I go to the Coca-Cola booth, which I had looked it up. I'm I know exactly where it's at. I go to the booth and I start the conversation with them, and I quickly realize it's a really big jump to come from pharmaceutical sales to selling CPG and Coca-Cola. Telling the story of why they should consider someone who has only talked to doctors, who really doesn't have any background or perspective in CPG. It was a really, really big jump. And because I hadn't really assessed where I was at, it was very difficult for me to clearly communicate to them why they should even consider somebody like me for a role at their company working in marketing. Even with the MBA, even with all the classes and the coursework I was going to get, even with the case studies that we were going to go through, it was very difficult for me to communicate to them why they should consider me, even with the experience I had, which I had really, really good, very strong experience. So that's why I think the first thing you really have to do is assess where you are, understand where you are and what you need to do to get to where you want to be. So that's like the second point. What's your goal? What's your 1 year goal? What's your 2 year goal, your 5 year, your 10 year? Really understand what is it you want to do? Where do you want to go? For me at the time, like I said, I thought I wanted to go into CPG. I had my heart set. I wanted to work on sexy commercials. I wanted to be the person who put together the ad campaign and like worked with the ad agency and explained to them exactly what we were trying to do. Like that was the vision I had for myself. But that was going to take me a lot. And I quickly realized that by deciding that I actually wanted, and I realized after going through the first year that I really do love healthcare, but it was an easier transition for me to get into healthcare and to really get a lot of great opportunities. So, you do, after you assess where you are, you got to now understand like, where do you want to go? Okay. And once you figure out where you want to go, there's some things you can do strategy wise to start to bridge the gap to get to a place where you can tell the story as to why you're a fit for where you want to be. Now, sometimes you have to do some things and there's stuff you have to go through in between. Like, for example, if you say, I really don't have the experience to get to the job that like I'm currently sitting in, you may not have that experience today and you may go, you know what, I'm going to have to go get my MBA to do that. Or maybe you have to do a lateral move to be able to get into the position you want to get into. It's important to just understand first like where you are so you can start to assess the situation and figure out where you want to go. But I'm going to help you with that, right? So let's just kind of take a little bit of a step back. And, the focus of this was people getting out of school. But this conversation applies to everybody, right? This can be you're working a job and you're trying to figure out how to get to the next job. Or this can be you literally are fresh out of college and you're like, oh my God, I need a job. How am I going to get there? So this applies to anybody, even if you feel like this title wasn't exactly what you feel like you're looking for. But the strategy I'm going to give you, it really works. And this was something that I had told to me by, I think he's actually still at our company now, but it was one of the vice presidents or general managers that is at my present company. So what he said to me is, if you know where you want to be and you understand your background, the first thing you need to do is get online and research. So this is like your first step. You got to research. You need to research companies. So that means, like I had someone ask me, they're like, I want to get into pharmaceutical sales and I want to work for a good company. Can you tell me what companies out there are good companies? That is a very, very subjective question. And I don't know how to answer that question because what someone says is a good company may be different than my opinion of a good company. It may be some people think Fortune 500 is good and some people think startups are great. So that's kind of a subjective question first. And then secondly, it's when you hear people tell you to research and to research like everything, that is something I think we take for granted and we hear it all the time, but it really, really helps you. And I'm going to tell you why. When you research, it helps you to build confidence because you start to understand exactly what companies are looking for. And as you research, let's say you start and you go, I want to get into pharmaceutical sales, right? So you go and you do some searches online and you see what current companies are hiring for pharmaceutical sales. So you pull a job description, and let's start with Pfizer. Pfizer has their job description. The job description has all the details around what's required, what they prefer, what the job entails. There's keywords in there. There's all that good stuff, right? And when you start to read that, you get kind of an understanding for what Pfizer's looking for. But the text in there and the way they write it is very general. There's some things that you kind of know, like on a checklist, like if you fit or not. But that's not going to be good enough. That's not enough research, right? You need to now go and you need to pull some more job descriptions. And you need to pull lots of them for the same exact job. So this is kind of like, for me, if I was going to start looking for a job today and I know what job I want to have, the first thing I'm going to do before I apply for anything is pull multiple job descriptions of the same exact job at different companies. And what you want to do is look at the job descriptions and understand what are the similarities between those roles, right? And this is something you can also do when you're just planning, like maybe even a year out, and you just kind of want to understand like, okay, what is required for this job? What are the themes for this job? And by doing this, you build your confidence because you begin to start to get an understanding for what people really want, what they need. And then you also start to think, proactively about what you have, what you offer. You'll even understand like, this is going to be a real stretch for me at this current time to be able to do that. But it will help you because one will become either super confident that you fit what's needed across the industry. You two are either going to recognize that you've got some really big gaps to fill, or three, you're going to just be like, okay, I need to like talk to some people and get a better understanding around what it is that I see here. But either way, you will be inspired to know what the next step is. So that's the first thing. Pull the job descriptions, get an understanding for what people need, start to see the common themes, start to see the common requirements, and get very comfortable with it, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to give you the background, the perspective, and it's also going to help you when you get into interviews and you start to talk and you have context, you have things to pull from that will help that conversation keep going. So that's the jobs, right? We talked about the jobs, looking at jobs, and this is similar to like when I cook. So when I cook, I like to pull recipes. Let's say I'm going to make lasagna. I'm going to pull multiple recipes of lasagna, and I'm going to see what's the common theme. That tells you what ingredients you have to have. You got to have flat noodles. You need spaghetti sauce, and you need cheese. Those are like the common themes, right? Then you may have a vegetarian lasagna, which that one doesn't have any meat. That's over here. You have a chicken lasagna. That's a little different. It's got chicken in it. You got the beef. You know what I mean? So you'll see like there's differences, but there's going to be common themes that are common across all of those jobs. Okay, so that's first. Now we're going to back up just a little bit more. You also want to do a lot of research about companies. Companies have things that they look for. They have things that they like. They have preferences. You know what I mean? So like, for example, when I was trying to get into pharmaceutical sales and I was first talking to some of the smaller companies, these companies were very open to people who had a lot of experience. They wanted people who were like very seasoned, and that was kind of their thing, because they wanted people who could come in, they could just bring what they knew, jump into positions and like get running, like literally start running from day one and be effective and start to sell and to make money for the organization. Then you had companies like Pfizer, which is where I ended up landing. Pfizer liked people who weren't like that. They liked people who were green, they could bring in, put through their training program, which was a very long, intensive program, and you would come out and you would be like Pfizer. You know what I mean? Like you walk their walk, you talk their talk. So there was a very different just thing that they looked for. And when you do some research about the companies, you kind of get an understanding for one, if you're going to be a fit, two, what that company is going to be looking for. And you can look on, there's like job boards that where actually internal people will conversate and will talk about the company. You'll also find just general research, industry research. There's lots of stuff available online that will help you understand what a company is looking for and if you'd be a good fit. So that's the second thing, like research the company, get an understanding. Sorry, you guys, I was eating some food, so I'm kind of like, had some stuff in my teeth. But anyway, excuse me. But yeah, definitely, research the company, research the job, and get an understanding around if you're going to be a good fit. So those are like, I guess, the A and B. And we had already kind of talked about like the 1 and 2. So the next thing I think is like super, super important. Once you get to the point where you're kind of confident around, what type of jobs you want to apply for, what companies you think, what the companies that you like are and what they look for. I also think like the next thing, and I don't know if I would put those things in any kind of order. I think they all are just like research items or things you do when you're researching. But this one I didn't mention, which I think is also really important, is to do some research around like ranking of companies, if companies are actually reputable. That's the word I'm looking for, reputable companies, because not all companies are created equal. There are definitely some companies I looked at back in the day when I was trying to get into the industry that are not as reputable as some of the other ones I ended up looking at and interviewing for. And if you're just getting started and you know there's an industry you want to break into, you can literally do general searches like, what are the top 20 pharmaceutical sales companies? Or what are the top 100 or top, 50 CPG companies? There is information out there on every industry that's going to help you kind of get started. And when I was in my MBA program, it was like the last winter before we all were about to break for school. I didn't have my offer yet. I think it was like November. And I was looking for jobs and I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I don't have an offer yet. So what I ended up doing is I literally Googled, what are the top 50 pharmaceutical companies in the world? And what I did from there is I made that my list, and I went to every single one of those companies' websites. I researched that company. I did all this over Christmas break so I could find a job. That helped me out so much. It kind of gave me a place to start. And I think that leads into the next thing, which is a word you guys have probably heard on my channel before. And that word is scrappy. You have to be scrappy. Hold on, y'all. Let me take a quick sip of my water because I feel like my mouth is super dry. Okay, I'm back. But yeah, you have to be scrappy. And what I mean by that is being scrappy is like if you were out and let's say you had to build a house in the sand and you're competing against other people. Being scrappy is like you're out there and you're going crazy trying to build that house. You don't stop. You know what I mean? Like it's just like hungry, going after your goals, going after your dreams wholeheartedly, 100%. Like you got to be scrappy. You cannot wait for anybody else to hand you anything. You have to just go and make it happen. And I think that's just a characteristic that if you become scrappy, it is going to not only set you apart, but it's going to help you go to the next level. It's going to help push you to the next level. And that's I think just something I'll kind of want to sneak in there because I think that's something where you can't really measure scrappy, whereas some of these other things I think you could quantify a little bit better. But this for sure is something that I would say is very, very important. You're so welcome. Okay, so you actually just said something, and I do want to just mention this, and I probably am going to do this video again because years ago I did a video called How to Get into Pharmaceutical Sales. And back then I mentioned a certificate, which is very common in the industry. A lot of people do it. And I see China Doll, you just mentioned it. It's called NAPSR, NAPSR. It's a certification you can get when you're trying to get into the industry. It kind of helps to show that you are just serious. And the one thing I will say about that certification is I am at this point not clear if I really think it's value adds. I just want to throw that out there for those of you who are interested in pharmaceutical sales. At this point, I'm not sold if that particular certification is value add. So proceed with caution on that. Do some research because I tried to research that this year when I was talking to someone about this particular industry, and I'm not 100% sure if that's a value add to do. But I do want to get back to the points that I had, but I did want to just mention that because I've had a lot of people ask me about that as of recent too. So, okay. So we talked about, and I feel like we're going to have to talk some more because this conversation can go into interviewing. It can go into just the preparation you need to take when you're preparing for companies. Like one thing I did when I was interviewing for the current job I have is I read the 10K report. I wanted to understand what the strategy of the organization is, what they're currently thinking about, what the internal goals are of the company. And I definitely think that set me apart when I was interviewing against other people for the role. So there's a lot of tips I want to share with you guys. And today is not going to be, I think, the best day to have to share everything because I have a lot of stuff that I really do think could help you. But just kind of getting back to getting started and trying to set yourself apart. Now, this is something you have to definitely do in advance. This isn't like when you are going and you're in interview mode, but understand what these companies want and really try to set yourself up for success. And what I mean by that is if you're deciding that you want to go back to school, understand what companies go to the schools that you're interested in. Not all schools are created equal. I hate to say that. And I know some people get really, really mad about that statement, but it's true. A lot of companies don't go to certain schools. A lot of companies will not hire people from certain types of schools. Make sure you do your research and understand what companies come to the colleges that you're looking at and you're interested in. Don't just apply to a college because you know that college is going to get you the check in the box that you want. Don't do that. You can be spending a lot of money and not positioning yourself in the best way. I've seen people do it. I've seen people do it with MBA programs. I've seen them do it with, online undergraduate degrees. Not all degrees are created equal. Not all companies will consider candidates from certain programs. Please do your research when you're figuring out where you want to go. And when you're in your program, do research around what companies want to see when they're interviewing. There are jobs where they say entry-level jobs post your undergraduate degree, and they want you to have experience. And you're going, how am I supposed to have experience when I was supposed to be an undergrad getting my degree? Like, when do you get the experience between high school and graduation? And you get that experience in a lot of ways. You can get it from internships. You can get it from, I think they call them externships, I want to say is the name. You can get them from study abroad. You can do volunteer work. I knew people when I was getting my MBA who actually volunteered and did stuff on the side that got them the experience they needed to be able to speak to the certain things that these companies are looking for when they interview you for a job. So understand what they want to see. Find a way to do it and to be able to tell the story that you can check the boxes from the research you did when you pulled all those job descriptions down and you read it like a recipe and you knew that if you're interviewing for an entry-level finance position, they're going to look for somebody who has a little bit of understanding around, certain aspects of doing that job. So don't just wait till you graduate. Don't wait until you're at the point of applying to understand what companies want, because that might be too late. You might have just positioned yourself to get skipped over by somebody else who did the internship or who did a little stuff on the side to be able to qualify for the position. So I feel like I've kind of said a lot. I want to check out the comment section and just see if we have any questions or anything down here. While I'm doing that, if you guys have not hit the like button, please do that. But okay, I see K-Star Boys in the house. What's up? Yes. Hello. Welcome. You said you don't know why you're afraid to go back to school. Seems like school is needed to get real pay. It for sure can help a lot. Like going to school, if you go for the right thing. Again, I cannot stress it enough. Not all degrees are created equal. Not all programs are created equal. When you research, you have to research everything. Research your program. Put these schools on the spot. When you are figuring out if you want to apply for them, put them on the spot. You interview them. Ask them what companies are coming to visit. What companies did you guys place? Can I see the statistics you have on your placement? What percentage of students that graduate from your program are placed within positions, and how long until you get 100% of your class placed? Ask questions and put people on the spot. Put these schools on the spot. You're going to spend thousands of dollars. Thousands. Some programs, you get your MBA, you're going to be spending $100,000. Put them on the spot. They need to be accountable for the statistics that they have, and they have it. They can cut that data any number of ways to be able to help you understand what the placement is. And if a school is stuttering at the questions you're asking, you might want to consider if you really should be going there. And that's just real talk. You know what I mean? Because like I said, I've seen people do this where they go, they get their degree, they make the investment, they get out, and they realize that the program they put themselves through isn't going to get them the pay jump that they want, access to the companies that they want, and it can really set you back. And how deflating would that be to do that and to spend all that time and money and feel like you're not really positioning yourself for where you want to go. So definitely do those things for sure to help get yourself just, in the right place. Definitely. Yeah, that's exactly right, Jackie. Exactly right. Yeah, you definitely want to be sure exactly what you want to study, what you want to do with it, can I give some examples of how to be scrappy? Yes. Okay. This is a very great question. So scrappy is like, okay, here's an example of scrappy. This might not be the best example, but it's an example nonetheless. So when I was going back to, or when I was actually working, I was in radio sales. I used to work for a company called Citadel Broadcasting Company. And when I was at Citadel, I hated it. I was like, oh my God, this job sucks. Like, it was so just frustrating because you basically went out and sold radio sales every single day. You didn't make a lot of money. It was so hard to get good deals and to get, or not deals, but to get really good contracts. Like, it was one of those where you got to hit the pavement. It's dog eat dog. So I knew, like, this is not for me. It was not for me. So I decided I was going to go to this career fair at Michigan State. First of all, it was an undergraduate career fair, and I've graduated. I'm out of school already, so I'm like, you know what? I'm going back because I know the companies are there. I need to be where the companies are at. I've been looking all over the internet. I can't find these opportunities, so I'm going to this career fair, whether it's for current students or not. I had my little ID still, and I went. So I went to the career fair. That was first. I think that's like the first example of being scrappy. Like figuring out how to do something. And yeah, maybe it wasn't a perfect fit, but I'm like, you know what? Let me find out if this is something I qualify for. They told me my ID was still going to work. So boom, I was in the door. So that was first thing. The second thing is when I went in there, it's intimidating. There's people everywhere. You know, it's like thousands of kids walking around. Everybody's in suits. Everybody looks great. Companies are there with their big, like boards and, the walls set up, and all the hiring managers are wearing their suits and they've got their literature out. And I see the Pfizer pharmaceutical area. It's huge. They probably had like 20 managers like all lined up. And then the line for Pfizer was like down and it like wrapped around the corner. So I see all these people and they're all standing there, but they look so like scared to talk to Pfizer. So I had my resume in hand and I had already kind of walked around and like played my pitch through my head. And I'm like, okay, I got to get a job. So number one, I wore a green suit. I had a green suit on. It was kind of like a, it was like literally the color of this light. It was like this color. So I had the suit on, this green suit with the scarf, and the scarf was like tied around my neck, and I walked up past the line. So I skipped the line. I do not recommend doing this. But I skipped the line and I walked right up to the hiring manager and I said, "Hi, my name is Kristyn Jones and I am very interested." And I just went into my pitch. I gave him my 60-second pitch, which you have to have one of those. If you don't have a 60-second pitch, you need to go work on that tonight. I'm just playing, not tonight. But you need to work on your 60-second pitch. I had my pitch. I was confident. I was excited. And I sold him. And I remember his name was Ken. I'm not going to say his last name, but his name was Ken. And Ken was so impressed. He was like, "Go and see Mike." So I go down there and I meet this other guy. His name is Michael. And I talked to him and he was like, "Okay." I'm telling you guys, I was so confident. So he was like, "Here's this piece of paper." He points up to the stands because it was inside the Breslin Center. So if you're familiar with basketball, it was inside the Michigan State basketball arena, which is called the Breslin. He points up to the stands and he says, "Go up and see that guy sitting in the stands. Hand him this card and get an interview slot." So I was geeked. I'm like, "Oh, I got an interview?" You know, like the girl from the BT Award when she was like, that was me. So I was so excited. So long story short, I went up there, I interviewed. But I say that to say, like, I feel like I was being scrappy. I'm like, I'm not taking no for an answer. I was confident. I was like, whatever it takes, I'm going to make it happen. That's being scrappy. Scrappy is like, let's just talk about this channel right now on YouTube. I've had hills and valleys with this channel, you guys. I've had this channel for, I think, like 3 years. I've had moments where the channel was doing great, and I've had moments where this channel was doing really, really bad. And I do have my real life, you know what I mean? So sometimes it's tricky to juggle it. But there have been moments where in doing this channel, it was doing really bad, and I'm like, oh my God, like, I'm just going to give up. You know, and you get that feeling, like, that pit in your stomach where you're like, I really want this to do well, but it's not. Let's just be real, it's not. You know, and it was like, gosh, like, it really made me feel so defeated. Being scrappy is when you feel that pit in your stomach and you feel defeated and you get up the next day and you say, you know what? I don't care that it sucks. I'm going to do what I got to do to make it better. And even if it takes baby steps or it takes, little things here, there, if it takes talking to people, if it takes doing lots of research and being up halfway through the night just trying to understand what it is you're doing wrong, that's being scrappy. Being scrappy is not sitting back or calling people and saying, hey, can you tell me? No, being scrappy is like getting after it, making it happen. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and check out these comments real quick. But, yes. Any advice for working on soft skills? Can you tell me a little bit, because it's been a long time since I've used that terminology. Help me understand like soft skills, like what you would classify as soft skills, and then I'll give you some advice on that. You said you just finished doing some homework. You're tired focusing on finishing. Oh, you said you're leaning towards. That would be awesome. Yeah, MBA is awesome, but don't feel like you have to do it right away. A lot of MBA programs actually don't accept a lot of people straight after undergrad. I know when I went to Michigan State, they only accepted, I think, one person who went straight from undergrad into MBA. So not to say you can't do it, but it can be really challenging because there's usually not a lot of spots for people who don't have a ton of experience. And that's because when you go out and you're interviewing, a lot of times you're interviewing against people who were similar to me. I had 5 years of pharmaceutical experience, and it was easy for me to interview against people in the industry I was in because of the experience that I had. So don't feel like you have to go right away, but if it's something you really want to do, don't even think you can't, because you definitely can. And it's going to jumpstart you getting into the higher level income a lot faster than if you wait and do a couple years outside. But I just wanted to throw that out there. That's really dope. Okay. Oh, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. Yeah, let me know, though, in the comments about soft skills, because it's been a while. Brian, what does it mean to say soft skills? What exactly falls into that category? Are you over there? No? Okay, he's not over there. So, wait, I just want to do a really quick time check. It's been 36 minutes. I did not want this video to be super, super long. So with that being said, I'm going to do these videos on Monday. It may be live. So if I'm not able to record in advance, I will do a live. If I don't do a live, I will usually have a video, or I'll post a note on the little, you know how you guys can see like a note from me or a message. I'll do something to just at least let you know what to expect. But I will be doing these. I'm going to have lots of different types of topics. I think this topic could kind of build upon itself because there's lots of angles and things to talk about. We could talk about being scrappy for a whole hour. Being scrappy is just, I think is really important. And I've told you guys before, I've stole that term from the program I went through called MLT. MLT is really amazing. It will help you if you're trying to get into MBA program. It will help prepare you for jobs post-MBA as well as undergraduate as well. So if you guys are thinking about, pursuing education or going back to school, that's a really good program that will help set you up for success that I would definitely recommend. What was my pitch? It's been a lot of years. Now it's been 8 years since I got out of my MBA program. So I was in the program for 18 months. So that's, you might as well say 10 years. Then I had 5 years in pharmaceuticals plus the time when I interviewed. So it's been about 15 years since that story I just told you guys. So I don't remember what my pitch was, to be totally transparent with you. It's been a long time. Yeah. Any tips on speaking and conducting a meeting? Yes, I can actually give you guys some tips really quickly on that. And we probably could, again, have a whole session on this. But sometimes I feel like when I'm in meetings, I don't know exactly the right thing to say. So for me, what has really helped me is to have a set script. And I kind of have this set script for all my meetings. If I'm facilitating a meeting, I do it a certain way. And the best way to do this and to do it successfully is to come up with your script, how you're going to interact with people, how you're going to start all of your meetings, how you're going to run your meetings, how you're going to close your meetings, and even follow up when the meeting is over. And I think that's important because once you do that, it helps you to build your confidence. You don't look nervous, you're not tripping over yourself, and it's just really, really helpful. Now, this goes for public speaking, this goes for interviewing, and this is kind of like something I think is important, and it's practice. Practice, 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 practice. When I was interviewing, I used to interview a fake, interviewer at the house in the living room, and I would do it over and over. Or at the time I was with my ex, and I would have him literally sit down and I would have him ask me questions. I'd write all the questions out. I'd do research on questions, and I would have him ask me the questions, and I would sit there and I'd answer the questions over and over again. So in my opinion, practice. Come up with your format as to how you want your meetings to go. I always start my meetings with the purpose. So I start the meeting by saying the purpose of the meeting today is boom. And I have a very clear definition of what I'm expecting out of that meeting. When we leave the meeting, I close the meeting with the fact that we've accomplished whatever the purpose is, or if we haven't, I come up with the next steps based on that. I always have action items. I always email out the action items, so the people who know that they have an action item, they know that they do. I give them a timeline and all that good stuff. But in terms of just like facilitating public speaking, practice. I practice even like my YouTube videos. I don't write a script for my YouTube videos, but I do practice them a lot, which is why when you guys watch my videos, you'll see like editing and you'll see like the clips of me clipping stuff together. That's because a lot of times I do stuff over and over again, and I just get comfortable and to the point where I sound confident. I don't sound like I'm asking a question. I sound like I know what I'm talking about and I'm confident in what I'm saying. So I would definitely recommend like practice until you can't practice no more. Until you're saying it in your sleep. You know what I mean? You're in your sleep like the purpose of this meeting today. You'll be good. You do it like that. And make sure you say it with confidence. Say everything when you talk, because I do this sometimes, you guys. I don't sound like I'm confident. Put some bass in your voice. Talk from the like tighten up your abs. Put some bass in your voice. Don't sound like it's a question. Don't sound like it's a question. Put some bass in your voice. You know what I mean? So definitely do that. Yes, that's a perfect suggestion too, Starry. Toastmasters is really great. Definitely helpful. I've never done Toastmasters. Thank you so much, Starry. You too. You have a great night. But yeah, it's really, really great. I like sometimes I'll come in because the organization that I'm a part of at work, they sponsor Toastmasters, and I don't do it, but I come in there sometimes and I like watch them do what they do. So yeah, it's really awesome. But with that being said, you guys, it is like almost 45 minutes in, and I didn't want this to be too long. I know it's really late for a lot of you. You probably have stuff going on tomorrow, but I ask you one thing, and you can do it later on. I did put up a little picture on the timeline, and that picture is where I had mentioned that I was going to have this particular session this evening. You guys can just take some time and think of questions that you have, or you can put them in this video later on as well. Let me know questions, topics you want to talk about, things you think would be interesting to continue this conversation forward. And I'm going to make a list myself, and we're going to just continue the conversation moving forward. We've got, what is this? This is July. So we've got there's 52 weeks. We got 26 weeks left. Well, probably a little bit less than that because it's actually July right now. We just missed June. But we got a lot of time is my point. So we got 20-something topics we can get after for the rest of this year. So you guys definitely let me know ideas you have, just whatever. Send it to me. You can email me. You can write me on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook. Y'all know you can find me wherever. So just send me your ideas, your topics, and we will work it in. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go because I still need a shower. I need to wash my face. I did the bike and I'm feeling really, really nasty right now. But I told myself I was going to keep this commitment to do these conversations because that is what I want to do. This channel, I'm going to start. I have a few hauls. The hauls are fun, especially when I have a lot of stuff going on. It just kind of helps me keep the channel moving. But we're actually about to transition and do some other things on this channel. So I'm super excited. I hope you guys are too. If you have not watched VlogTune on my vlog channel, I have been able to have more thought-provoking conversation over there. We've been having topics. I basically try every single video to make the video entertaining where it's not boring, because I hate watching vlogs and I get bored and I like skip till I get to like the interesting parts. So I try to make sure the vlogs are interesting, but I also try to always incorporate a topic that I think is an interesting, thought-provoking topic. So definitely go check that out. I have a link for that in the description box, and we can kind of keep the conversation going. I do some career stuff over there too, but I just wanted to kind of let you guys know what the whole, the vision is for the future. But you are so welcome, girl. Yeah, you are so welcome. Yeah, you got this, Tiffany, girl. You definitely got this. You gonna make it happen. We gonna make it happen together. You know what I mean? Like, there's a quote I've seen, and I live by it, and it's be the change you want to see in this world. And I feel like I've seen statistics out there that talk about, especially the African American community, and how as a community we have increasing rates of people going to jail. We really haven't progressed financially as a community. Our income level, just, overall debt to income. And I want to have it where I can help my people on this channel. If this is the only, as far as my net spans, I want to help you guys. And I'm going to help by giving all the information I know that can help you take it and push yourself further, because it would be so amazing to be able to have people tell me that they got further than where I've gotten in my life because of some things that they learned from listening to me or having someone like me available to them as like a friend. And they say you're an average of the 5 people you talk to the most. So maybe I can kind of be like one of the 5 to help you get to where you're trying to go. But with that, you guys, thank you so much for coming into this live. I appreciate you. Please hit the thumbs up button before you exit if you have not done that yet. And I am going to let you guys go, and I will see you guys next time. So have a great evening. Bye.